the meeting of the executive cabinet member, deputy leader portfolio. First item on the agenda is monitoring of exec member decisions. Any questions, queries? I'm happy to take those. Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Chair. I'm having difficulty with me team, so I hope it's working okay. Is it possible to have an update on the former Preston, the Zacks building at Preston, the former Preston building? I think it's being recorded as the Kersley Community Centre. If you look at the report, it notes that at the end of 24, there was some engagement with the ward members. And I think since then, again, it's still been a waiting game to get a follow-up from that. But any information that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I'll bring Andrew in, but just before I do that, just to let you know, Councillor Saunders, I have been working with the officers in relation to that community centre, a couple of other community centre buildings in other wards as well. I think we've got a way forward now. And the elected members will be informed in the next week or so in terms of how we are going to proceed with it. What I'm trying to do is open this up for community interest groups to come forward, but we are in its sort of final stages. So I don't know if Andrew wants to add to that.
Well, thank you, Councillor. I'm not sure that I can add much more, really. I think you've said it. Justin Clough, our Assistant Director for Corporate Property, is in the process of imminently contacting more councillors for this matter. So certainly within the week, hopefully a bit sooner than that. And we are basically ready to go from there. But we do want to engage in that discussion first before taking any action.
David?
Oh, okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Actor. Just in relation to the community asset transfers, wrong initials, I think. I think it's a great idea, to be quite honest. I know some people say, oh, it's not been put out to what's the name, etc. But trying to find groups who really want to put added value back into the community is a far better process than flogging a building off, in my opinion. My only concern, and I have said it before in other meetings and at council, is the length of time we had with the process. It seemed to the one in West Orton, which, yeah, thankfully is now gone through, and the group are looking at how we can, get the building sorted, etc. It's just that time scale, that opportunity seems to be hanging on all the time, kind of thing, and how we can actually get that squashed right down to get a building back in use, and the group who wants to use it in there using them. And it'd be interesting to know where we are with probably the next wave of buildings, because we must have others lurking around on the property portfolio, which we are never probably going to use in council format, and how we can speed that up if we're going down the community transfer route.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, David, I fully agree with you, and I share some of the frustration that you have expressed here. And with our property portfolio coming into the council, hopefully it will speed things up. This is something which I have prioritized. The officers know this, and I am fully in agreement with you that we need to address this going forward. And these 3 community centres that we want to hand over to a community organisation, not through CAT, but through other arrangements where they take the ownership, not the ownership in those words, but take the ownership of running that community centre and be responsible for those community centres, those community facilities in those neighbourhoods. But where CAT is concerned, I think we also need to look at that going forward. So I agree with you fully. Absolutely. Good point. David?
Thank you, Chair. Just want to, again, just reiterate what David and yourself said. It's really positive that we are looking to speed these things up. I've been banging on about leases and CATs since I started. The added value that community organisations can bring to build. You look at BSAC at Blackrod Sports and Community Centre. It was a derelict building. Now they invest so much into the community because they've got access to funds that we don't have.
Yeah.
We still maintain the building. It's still a Bolton Council asset for somewhere down the line. But but the way it's been run under Robertson's, it's just been so frustrating for these groups and organisations to actually get the money, or sorry, get the title, so they can then apply for the money to invest in not only the building but in the communities.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting 5 years for 2 small parcels of land to be transferred to Blackrod Town Council. Blackrod Town Council's going nowhere. We've no use of the land whatsoever except for mowing and dealing with complaints when you don't mow it. Pass it on to someone else. It's off your hands. And it's, I hope it does speed things up. I'll be really disappointed if it doesn't. I'm looking forward to faster CATs or whatever route we go down, whether they're leases or whatever, management plans, whatever. But it's really important we speed up the process. That is the council investing in our community organisations by speeding up the process and making it as simple and transparent as possible. Thank you.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And can I also request, make a request to yourselves, if there is any sort of issue or any community centre building in your patch where there are frustrations, there are issues, if you could let me know. For example, Councillor Warren emailed me the other day about a building in her ward, and the officers are looking into that as well. So if you could raise that with me outside this meeting, and I can then take it up with the officers and progress these matters. Thank you. Councillor Warren?
Thanks, Chair. It's just a generalised question, really, or point. One of the most frustrating things when you're chasing, both now the council and previously Robertson's, and I've been chasing now for an update for a number of weeks from the council, it's timescales. I think sometimes it really helps if we could have actually it's going to take us 3 working days to look into this, or 5 working days. Just because then we kind of know that we're not, right, okay, it's been acknowledged, and from that acknowledgement then we'll leave it so many days before we chase, and we obviously we're adding to the workload because we're chasing at the same time. So I think that would be really helpful if there could be an automated response on the email saying, thank you, we've got your email, we'll look at it within so many days and get back to you. And even if within those so many days it's just a holding email, I think that would be really helpful, really. So thank you.
Yeah, no, this is a very valid question. And again, there's a program work which I'm sure the director will tell you about in a bit. That includes a very robust help desk. So, Andrew, if you want to come in.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thanks very much, Chair. I think it's an absolutely perfectly reasonable thing to suggest, Councillor Warren. And in fact, the team do at the moment work as a standard to 5 working days to form a response. But I totally agree that if we're not ready to provide a full answer, then we should be able to set expectations about how much additional time is required. We've actually, Justin and the team have established some new processes around this to help tracking. We want, with the new in-house service, we want it to be much, much more customer focused. That's the whole emphasis of having undertaken the in-housing programme. So we feel that we're moving in the right way. We do review the stats on a regular basis. Justin and team look at requests coming in, have they been responded to, are they outstanding, and so on, the aging of those items. So I think we'll have better science and sort of performance management around this as we go forward. But totally understand why you've raised that, Councillor, and the team are on it, and hopefully you'll see that over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Don't see any other hands, so we can move to the next item on the agenda. Director of Plays finance report. Janet?
Thank you very much, Chair. So this report contains the financial year-end update for the Directorate of Place. The final outturn position for the Directorate of Place is an overspend of £325,000. For this portfolio, there was an underspend of £66,000. There are 3 significant variances highlighted within the report. However, for this portfolio, the main area of the report to report is the planning division, but in particular, it's building control. The budget savings for 24-25 for the Directorate of Place, the savings programme was £862,000, all of which have been achieved. Within the report, we're seeking approval for 2 savings options for 25-27. For this portfolio, there's only one item which forms part of the cross-cutting option of £104,000, and it's titled Review of Agency Overtime and Vacancies. So after the deletion of a vacant post within another portfolio, there's a balance of £32,000. It's proposed that this is found by reducing budgets across the whole of the Directorate to reflect the actual spend position in areas such as subscriptions, contract management and overtime. The Directorate does not have any general reserves. Capital expenditure for the Directorate of Place was 40 million. The balance of the available funding has been transferred as slippage into the next year's programme 25-26. The main reason for the majority of the slippage is the phasing of new schemes, which isn't particularly clear when we initially built it into the capital programme. There's a piece of work being undertaken with scheme managers to better understand the indicative phasing at the beginning of a scheme so that we can build it into the right years in the capital programme and therefore limit the need to keep creating such large slippage figures. The key financial findings can be found on page 3 and service-specific findings can be found on Appendix 1. The Executive Cabinet member is asked to note the contents of the report and to approve the recommendations in section 11 of the report that's particular to this portfolio. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? David? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Even I can't reach to Bolton, but not to worry. Maybe not directly for Janet. Maybe John or somebody else could answer this in relation to building control. I have to say, Dwayne and Jane did a good thing about getting apprentices and other staff through the training process. It seems to have worked well. I'm glad planning actually made a surplus for once. It's been a difficult time for them. Would we not be, given the agency costs, a good idea to start going down that training route, shall I say, and investing for training for building control, so we're not dependent upon agency staff. And this is more of a general thing, and I've said it in years gone by about how we present financial information. And it is clear, it's there, it's every quarter, and there's loads of information. But, this is the but, today I think I've had 3, maybe 4 people. Council doesn't like spending, blah, blah, blah. It's all corruption. I'm thinking, yeah, okay. Right. How, officers, in departments, but also finance officers, how that information can be made in a way for a layman's ability to understand it. Like the £250 above that, it's on the council website. And somebody asked me about this last week, and I said, it's there. Everything over £250. We had a long discussion about taxi fares, which were for children, and it's sometimes about clarity of information. We may understand it, officers may understand it, but when you're dealing with members of the public who do not deal with hundreds of millions of pound budget, which is broken down into loads and loads and loads of smaller items because it covers such a vast range of services from children to adults to roads, you name it. How we can improve upon that. I know I'm asking officers to do something, or think about something when they've got enough to do already. But I have to be quite honest, we're moving in different times where people quite honestly just churn a load of bull out and people fall for it. And I think I'm being polite about that and make dishonest statements. And I think we've got to be in local government a little bit wiser to cut some of these charlatans and scam merchants. That's my penny's worth.
Thanks, David. John?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think it's a fair comment. I think not just within building control, but across a number of our services, we are looking to introduce where we can apprenticeship opportunities or kind of succession planning opportunities. I think we've had challenges from a recruitment point of view, as you're probably aware, Councillor Wilkinson, across a number of professional disciplines, engineering being another example, but building control has presented some challenges, certainly for the service over a number of years now. And as I say, it's not unique to Bolton. Colleagues across the city region and beyond are experiencing the same challenges. So that has resulted in the council having to buy in that expertise from agencies, and it's certainly not the most efficient way to do our business, but it's a necessary requirement at the moment, set within the context of one, the expertise required to undertake structural appraisals and to appraise building regulation applications, particularly following the introduction of the Building Safety Act, which brings into play further requirements from a qualification and experience point of view. So I think it's a work in progress. As you know, we've had a great deal of focus on working with colleagues in our planning service to drive levels of performance and quality, and I think we've had some great outcomes. I think we almost need to kind of go through a similar journey now with colleagues in our building control service, and part of that process will be about bringing into play more substantive organisational structures. So we create opportunity for new employment where we currently reliant upon agency staff. But as part of that process, how can we be creative with funding? How can we, as I say, create those opportunities maybe through approaching this in a slightly different way to bring forward, as I say, opportunities for graduates or for those who might be working through the college system. So I would absolutely endorse your thinking on this. I think it's just about kind of creating the conditions for us to be able to do that in an affordable way. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Adele?
Thanks, Chair. Mine's quite a similar question, really, just because obviously on the corporate the corporate plan in January, building control was listed on there. I know that planning was in quite a state, and I think the council and officers have done really well to kind of turn that around to the point that it's at, because it was really in quite a difficult stage, especially during and after COVID. With building control, though, it is slightly a different beast, because even though applicants are required to go through the council for building control, they can then go elsewhere. So just in terms of how competitive are we as a council in terms of private organisations, is it more challenging than planning, or is it the similar challenges that are going to be faced? And how long is it going to take to put a plan together and hopefully see some results as a result of that? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Warren, and I won't reiterate entirely the comments I've just made, but it is a challenge, and I think you're absolutely right. We operate, as you say, in a competitive marketplace with approved inspectors. I think certainly history over recent years suggests that improved inspectors have been able to offer perhaps more attractive terms and conditions for recruitment or employment within those particular organisations, and that's made it doubly difficult for local authorities to bring in the right staff with the right qualification expertise. I think we've had some success. We do have as I say, a number of colleagues who've joined the team who, admittedly, as I say, are through agency placements, but nonetheless people who can work with the service now, I think, to ensure that we drive the standards of improvement that we require across the service. We also, to be fair, probably needed to build capacity. It's certainly a service that doesn't have the scale of planning, but actually it's an incredibly busy service. And again, one of the things that probably we needed to address was some shortcomings in terms of the number of staff. So again, we'll work with Janet's team from a kind of an affordability point of view. This is one of the areas of certainly the Place Directorate's business that is subject of additional focus from a financial management point of view now, because we know that there are some pressure points. So I think probably a couple of work streams in play. I think we probably need to move through the next 12 months, deal with as I say, some of the issues in terms of performance, quality of service, and whilst responding, as I say, to changes in legislation. And hopefully through that process as well, we become a more attractive proposition. I think there are also opportunities to work with neighbouring authorities where we can potentially look to work together to draw on support and additional capacity and resource. But again, these are conversations which are live and in play at this moment in time. But I think the first kind of point of call is to try to drive down the overspend, and that comes through having initially an experienced and qualified team. Yeah, I think as you say, your question I think has a similar sort of thread to that which Councillor Wilkinson posed, and through ECM process and other forums, there's an opportunity I think to report on progress in terms of service improvements.
Thanks, John. David, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks very much for letting me back in. Can I just ask John, and probably right across the council leadership, etc., how we can use that awful, words AI, because whether we like it or not, it's creeping in and it's coming much faster. As long as it actually does what you actually tell it. Not like something that I saw on about Sky News the other day, and it wrote something completely different for the bloke, but that's another matter. How we can use that, because we do have these skill shortages in certain areas, so it can free up some time so people can do other things, shall I say, which take a human being and a human brain to actually put into practice.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Wilkinson. It's probably not, sorry, through you, Chair, it's probably not a conversation, necessarily for this forum today, but certainly Andrew might want to come in briefly, but Andrew's team have been working with our IT provider to really drive the AI agenda and its capability and capacity within Bolton Council. We have a number of pilot projects in play where we're testing, as I say, the potential business benefits of AI. And I think we're all, certainly from a corporate leadership team perspective, very much of the view that we do need to move to embrace AI and the opportunities it presents. And as I say, we have a number of projects which have been in play and Andrew being tested, would it be fair to say? And we hope that will create a platform for further investments in artificial intelligence. But perhaps, Andrew, you might just want to briefly comment without us moving this into a different portfolio meeting. But
No, absolutely. We have a handful of what we're calling proof of value projects at the moment, which are running from this mid-year point through to the back end of this year, just to make sure that we understand what the true value could be. We think it's really vast, and it's a question about how we then roll it out more broadly with guardrails, as we say, because you mentioned, Councillor Wilkinson, things can go astray. And we have to use technology in the most appropriate way. So again, it's another one that we're on with it, and we do think there's tremendous potential. We're testing, just to finish off, we're testing a couple of different technologies here. One is one that you probably know about, which is called Microsoft Copilot, and another one is Quick Action. They have different sort of productivity benefits. We won't go into too much more detail here, but we are fully exploring the potential. We think it's vast.
Thank you. And when I open Outlook on my phone, Copilot appears on my phone app as well. Thank you. David, Councillor Grant?
Yeah, thank you. Just something that has occurred to me. Obviously, when we're using AI on everyday products, particularly when we're dealing with sensitive information, that is shared through servers. by the owners of the, because obviously AI learns from inputs and direct input from people who are inputting that information. So if we're dealing with sensitive cases and issues, it's a very early technology, and I think it's got great applications in the future. But how secure? How can we be confident that the information that we're sharing, and I'm sure this conversation is going across every council that's looking to make use of, and every business that's looking to make use of AI. You know, we've got rid of Huawei for fears of sort of espionage from our Chinese friends. And I'm just wondering, you know, are there any concerns of data being used and getting out in the public whilst the system's being learnt and used? Thank you.
Thanks. Andrew?
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Councillor Grunt. That's exactly what I meant earlier about guardrails. We have to be very sure that we're treating our data and information in the right way. So we, within the council, as an organisation, we have our own so-called tenancy. So our information is secure to ourselves as a council organisation. And also the other tool I mentioned, Quick Action, is again a ring-fenced sort of technology. We're not drawing information from the World Wide Web. So other tools, for instance, like ChatGPT, are open to full access to the web. Many times it will generate appropriate content. Quite often it will not generate appropriate content. It's getting better, but it also has the risk of course, of moving our data into the world beyond our council boundaries. So we're really cognizant of those, and what we're doing over the next few months is developing some information governance measures so that we over the longer term can be really safe in the way we use the technology. Thank
you. And this was a very, very useful discussion, starting in finance and then moving into the world of AI. So I'm happy to approve the report and move to the next item on the agenda, which is Directorate of Corporate Resources Financial Report 24-25, final outturn. Janet?
Thank you very much, Chair. So the final outturn position for the Directorate of Corporate Resources is an underspend of £26,000. For this portfolio, it's an underspend of £9,000. The budgeted savings for 24-25 were 2.1 million, all of which have been achieved earlier on in the financial year. Approval is sought in this portfolio for a revision of the savings programme of 25-27. In particular, it's around the property savings. We're looking to move the ones that were in into 25 into 26-27. The Directorate does not hold any general reserves. The key financial findings can be found on page 3, and service-specific findings can be found on Appendix A. The Executive Cabinet member is asked to note the contents of the report and to approve the recommendations in Section 11, which are applicable to this portfolio. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Any questions? No questions. So I'm happy to approve the report as set out in the paper. And thank you all for your contributions and have a very nice evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, for being so.
Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.